Hi, guys, and welcome back to the That's Where I'm At podcast. Today I have Julie. Julie is a life coach, author, host of the Get Over Divorce podcast, and creator of the Get Over Divorce Collective, a coaching program that helps women heal powerfully and create a life they love after divorce. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. I enjoy your podcasts. That's how we connected somewhere along the way. I think I reached out to you. And so I just, after getting divorced, I started to look for podcasts and YouTube and all those kinds of things, Instagram, people doing this work because we really don't know what we don't know. Right. And so there's experts
Exactly.
like you. So tell me how you got into not only life coaching, but that you decided to go towards divorce.
You know, I I love this question because as much as I talk on my own podcast, I don't really talk about myself. So this is fun.
Oh, good.
Um, my story, I met my first husband at a very young age of 19.
Mm,
And we ended up together. I went away to college. He followed me there. We ended up moving back to Alaska, which is where we were both from,
mm,
and decided that we were going to get married and raise kids in Alaska where we would be near family. And we did that. And there was a lot of, I want to say, like, I feel like I stunted my growth by being with somebody
mm.
so young
Yeah,
and not having other opportunities of
yeah,
growth that life gives you.
yeah,
We ended up in our little cocoon together in
yeah.
that marriage, and it became like unhealthy. And
Yeah,
I felt like I outgrew that relationship at one point,
yeah.
and it wasn't a healthy relationship anymore.
It
And
feels,
honestly,
it feels like, when you don't have a full brain, right? Like at 19, we don't have a full brain yet. And then, sometimes when you get married young, because I got married young as well, and
yeah,
it's like you are learning and growing and whatever. And sometimes people don't grow and learn at the same rate or pace. And so it's
exactly.
hard. And did it feel comfortable to you? Is that why you kind of felt like, well, we just got ourselves in this little cocoon and now we're safe and
You
comfortable?
know, I think the thing is you don't see possibility at that
Yeah.
age. You don't
Yeah.
see potential. You
Right.
only know what you know, and
Yeah.
what you know is comfortable and easy.
Yeah.
And I took that comfortable and easy route because the other route would have been for me. I know you're in Las Vegas. I went to UNLV. So
Oh.
the fork in my road was, do I stay in Las Vegas
Yeah.
and not do this? And it felt scary to do
Yeah.
that alone. So I went back and we got married, and we had eventually had two children together, not until I was 29. Like, I
Okay.
waited that long.
Okay.
And I think I was waiting for things to change. But then, of course, once you have children, anything that was wrong in your marriage beforehand is amplified times 10 when you
Yeah.
have kids.
Really? Yes.
So there came a breaking point with myself, and I was on antidepressants the whole time, like the whole time. And there just came a breaking point for me where I was like, something's not working. I need to work on myself and figure out what's not working. I
Yeah.
was in therapy for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
but I had a meltdown, and my friend told me about somebody that actually uses coaching
Mm.
to help with their therapy. And all of a sudden, like, everything changed in my life.
That's
I quit smoking because I was literally sitting on the washer and dryer every night, smoking a pack of cigarettes and drinking a bottle of wine, talking to whoever would talk to me on the phone. Inside my marriage, I was very, very depressed.
right.
And I'm not just blaming the marriage, because in hindsight, I can see how this was me doing these things that
Right.
were
Your way of
unhealthy
coping.
habits.
Yeah, and your way of coping, right?
Yeah, my numbing behaviors.
Right.
So I cleaned that up. I cleaned all of that up. I even got promoted at work. I worked for a very large telecommunications company. and that was what my degree was in. And I was like, growing in that way. I was getting my master's degree. I decided, you know what? I'm going to go to our sister school in Austria and take a couple classes there. And
Wow.
I decided, like, I started making these positive decisions for myself. And I was like, okay, I'm doing great things. I'm loving my life outside of the home. Now I need to look at my life inside the home.
Yeah.
And I thought all this time, I was thinking, oh, he's perfect. There's nothing wrong with him because he tells me that.
Right.
And, but
Right.
then I looked at it and I was like, we're not compatible. We're not
Yeah.
a fit anymore.
Yeah.
And this isn't working for me. So I decided to get a divorce. And it was a hard decision to make. I think it was years in the making.
Yeah.
But I finally pulled the trigger on it. And as soon as I decided,
Hmm.
things fell into place and it happened. I can't say it happened quickly because we didn't get lawyers. And it was very difficult to come to the table to negotiate with somebody that didn't want to give you anything.
Right.
Um, but that's how a divorce is. We're
Right.
both that way. So what ended up happening was we each split everything directly in half, including our custody with the kids. And we decided that because we signed those papers together, that we were going to abide by them, that these papers are law, and we stood by that. And I think it helped our co-parenting
Yeah.
go better because I could always fall back and say, well, here's what the divorce decree said,
Right.
you know, and same with him. So that worked out. And after that, the trajectory of my growth just kept going. And I fell in love with my life. Like, I went from having such a shitty self esteem and not
Yeah.
believing in myself
Yeah.
to like, I can do anything and I can be with the man of my dreams because now I am free to figure out what that looks like.
Yes.
And I went on a mission to do that. But I tell you that initial piece of like learning to love your alone time is hard and it's worth
Yes.
wading through because when you get to the other side of that,
Hmm.
you no longer need a man in your life and you
Right.
will not give up yourself and your identity and the shit you love to do
Hmm.
for a man. And you got to get there before you get into a relationship.
And that's so important. I'm glad you brought that up because I hear people saying, I need to find somebody or whatever. And it's like, you need to like enjoy your time alone right now and
Yeah.
know who you are because that
Yeah.
was my biggest concern was after being with him for 33 years going, okay, I don't want to do this again. So I decided to be like that. Like, what are my dreams? Who am I? And
Yes.
now as I'm have been on my own for almost a couple of years, I think to myself, yeah, the next person is going to have to be high quality, not disturb my peace because I worked hard for this piece. You work really hard for it. So how do you tell your
You
clients
navigate
that,
that.
you know?
So I love that. You get really clear on what you want in a
Yeah.
person and
Yeah.
you're not going to compromise. And
Right.
ladies, you are not out there saying, I want tall, dark, and handsome with
Right.
big muscles and six-pack abs.
It's not enough.
No,
It's
that
not
is not
enough.
the criteria we are talking about. We are
Right.
talking about character.
Yeah.
What character do you want? Because I tell you what, you're going to fall in love with this character and his face and body are going to be so hot to you
Yeah.
that you are going to be like, club him over the head and drag him to your cave. It doesn't matter what he
Right.
looks like.
It's true. I mean,
Yeah.
that's especially when you've been with somebody who doesn't have good character. I mean, I long for that. It's
Yeah.
interesting to be dating at this age because before and of course I'm a different person now doing so much healing. I
Yeah.
would have been like trying to convince somebody to like me or I would have shape shifted into being the person they needed me to be. And now it's like I've gone on dates where I'm like, I'm good. I'm like, well, thank you for
Exactly.
your time. I wish you the
Exactly.
best. Bye
But
bye.
like none of that to the right guy, because the right guy has done this work. The right
Yes,
guy is going to be attracted to the things about you that make you unique.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
The things about you that make you unique is not that you have a hot body and that you wear a really tight, cute dress and that
right,
you laugh at all his jokes and
right,
twirl your hair like and act
right,
like a Nimrod. The
right,
things that make you sexy is you have hobbies and you have friends and you have a rich life that he is fascinated to hear about,
yeah,
right? You could be like doing alcohol ink art on the weekends with your girlfriends and
right,
like that's awesome. He's going to like that about you because it shows him that you don't need him to be the source of
yeah,
your entertainment,
yeah,
of your fun, of your social circle.
right,
Guys don't want that burden. The
right.
good guys. Now, the
Well,
wrong
that's for
guys
sure.
do. The
Yes,
wrong guys
exactly.
do.
The wrong guys do. Yes, the wrong guys will try and take away all of your alone time and all of your friend time and all that. And that is for sure. And we've talked about that on the show so many times that the isolation. It's funny because I was just on a show and they asked me, like, how did he isolate you? And it's like, they don't have to lock the door. They just make you feel bad for leaving the house without them. Those kinds of things. And so I like that you talk about that because that's what
Yeah.
I'm looking for, right? The right guy who's going to enhance my life. I'm going to enhance his, and we can
Yes.
live life together. So, okay, so how did you get into you doing coaching? And then did you want to always
I
do divorce coaching?
absolutely from the get-go. So
Really?
part of
That's
my
great.
receiving coaching, I was in this like women's group
Mm-hmm.
and we like met once a week for like 12 weeks or something. And a couple of these ladies I just connected with at such a deep level
Yeah.
through our growth and everything. And I remember one of them said, when I first met you, um, you were unapproachable. And I
Oh,
was like, what? And it's so interesting to have people reflect back to you.
yeah.
And I was shut down. I was closed off. I really was. I was not there to make buddies.
Yeah.
But eventually I opened up and I warmed up to that. And I think a lot of women struggle with that opening their heart back up. And I
Yeah.
think it's important that we do it because that's the real juiciness of life is
Yeah.
having close, real, authentic connections.
Yeah.
I wanted to replicate that. I wanted to create a program where women felt like welcome to share their hardest struggles and to learn from each other and grow from each other's struggles.
Yeah.
And that's what we do inside the collective. I've also really figured out what was my process of growth. What benchmarks did I need to hit
Uh-huh.
in order to feel confident, have a strong self-esteem,
Right.
feel ready to date? And
Mm-hmm.
then what does it look like to go out and date in an empowered way? So I put all of that into my program.
Yeah.
And from the okay, let me talk about first where I got to coaching because you did ask me that. Um, I met my husband Joe at work at this company that we worked for. We were both like single at the time. And I didn't really online date. I really had a full dance card, just being single and like being out in the world. Like
Okay.
people, would ask me out. And I dated great quality men. I had lots of fun. I did lots of trips and vacations and even had on a broad boyfriend from my travels to Europe
Mm-hmm.
and my class that I did. And then I just was like, oh my gosh, I really want to do this coaching thing. It was always in the back of my mind. I started dating Joe. I talked about it. And eventually, like, we got married very shortly after we committed to a relationship with each other. We were
Wow.
married within 6 months
Wow.
because when you know,
Uh-huh.
there were no red flags. I kept looking for them. I kept like
Good.
seeking them. Meanwhile, I was recognizing how much of my growth was happening within the container of this relationship.
Wow.
And I talk about that with my ladies a lot because there's a lot of growing that happens inside a relationship with somebody.
Yeah.
That breaking down those walls, that willingness to be vulnerable,
Mhm. Mhm.
that willingness to like accept the love and respect and treatment that you always wanted, but you never received.
Yeah.
I was getting that with Joe.
Okay. That sounds great.
So I basically like clubbed him over the head and drug him down the aisle. We got married. We bought a house together. My boys lived with us half time. His girls were older. And as he was growing in this company, I wanted out. Like I wanted to do something new. I got my master's degree. They didn't have a plan of growth for me. I
Yeah.
was like feeling a little like I was wasting away in my talents there. I wanted to grow. I wanted more.
Mhm.
So I worked at an agency. I tried other jobs. And one day my husband came to me, like he had just gotten this big raise and a big promotion. He's like, why don't you go do that coaching thing?
Mm.
I was like, quit my job, sign up for coaching, done.
Don't have to ask me twice.
Don't have to ask me twice. And it was a journey. Like anything to build a business, it's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And I immediately knew I just wanted to coach women through divorce. And I've had other opportunities that I've said no
Yeah.
to partner with people in big projects. And I'm like, no, this is my jam. This is
It's
all I want to do.
that's what I try to explain to people, even people who are in, say, the business world. When you know exactly what you're talking about, this show did not start out as the narcissist show, and it turned into it because that's what I like
Mhm.
talking about. Because after a while, it's like
Wow.
I wanted to give women a voice. And so when you are excited about something, you don't want to just take other opportunities. And so that's why
Yeah.
I enjoy talking about the nurses because
You're
when
teaching
you,
people to heal
well,
from that, right?
yes, right. You know, I remember who I was when I had first gotten divorced and how painful that was and how ashamed I was. And so that's who I talked to. I talked to that woman, and that's
Yeah.
what we talk about. We don't just rag on the narcissist. We talk
Right.
about this is what they do. This is how we're going to not do it anymore. You know, we're not going to allow them to fool us anymore. And how are we going to heal from that so we can change the world? Because they really just beat you down, and that's really hard. And so I'm glad that that you do what you do because it's so helpful. And I'm sure when you are talking to your ladies that you are seeing some women are getting regular divorces, quote unquote regular divorces, and then some who are divorcing narcissists. So I'm sure there's a
You
lot of
know,
stuff in there.
there's such a gray area there because when people go through divorce, they are not bringing their
Yeah.
best friend to the table.
Yes.
They, a lot of women may experience their husband who they
Yeah.
believed was a great guy
Right.
turn into, kind of a jerk during the
Yeah.
divorce process. And
Selfish. We're kind of selfish during the process. I mean,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And as probably that's just the nature of divorce, but they
Yeah.
may not have been a narcissist, but they are now. And sometimes, right? And that word gets thrown around a lot.
It
So not
does.
to overuse it. I mean,
Yeah.
none of these guys are professionally diagnosed, but
Right.
it's really common. I talked to a lot of women who never understood what that was,
Yeah.
who suffered with a lot of narcissistic abuse.
Yeah.
They don't understand what gaslighting is.
Right.
And we're unveiling this, we're opening them up to this education
That's what it is. Yeah.
of what their past really presents to them. And we're teaching them how to
Yeah.
learn from their past so they don't make that mistake again.
Because unfortunately, the thing is that when I had a hard time trying to understand, like, he was lying, he was doing this, he was doing that, because I didn't realize it until after. And it's because if you are not that kind of a person, if you don't spend your time trying to manipulate people and gaslight people and hurt people in certain ways, then it doesn't make sense to you. And then you do say, I was with my ex we were married 32 years. And I remember sitting in the divorce mediator thinking, oh, he's picking everything for us. I didn't say a word. I didn't say a word because I was so gaslit and I was very quiet. And so I told my mediator,
You were still being the docile wife.
I was trying to be good. I've always been told I was,
Be the good girl.
always, yeah, be a good girl. And I was making too big of a fuss about things. And he would tell me, I will take care of everything. So I believed him, even though we were sitting in a divorce office, I believed him. And it's hard because our brain doesn't go there, I think. And that was one of the hard things for me. It's like you can't believe that someone you love would do something like this. And so, unfortunately, you do have to know what they're doing to understand what to do next.
1,000%. I love it. So when women come to me and they're struggling with this,
Yeah.
they are struggling with co-parenting with their ex, and
Yeah.
they thought, "Oh my God, I thought it was going to get better
Yeah.
after we got divorced."
Right.
And they are still in this like enmeshed situation
Yeah.
where their ex is constantly having control.
Yeah.
This is where women need to learn to set very strong boundaries
Yeah.
and stop giving him his fix. And for the narcissist, the fix is your emotional reaction,
Yes.
pushing your buttons,
Yes.
pulling your triggers,
Yes.
making you go off. Because when you go off like that, he can go, see,
You're
I told
unstable.
you, I
Yep.
told you she was crazy.
Yep.
And yeah, we react crazy because he's gaslighting us. He's saying things like, oh my God, why are you twisting things? Why are
Mhm.
you so dramatic? Like, just calm down. I never said that. And it's like they're twisting things by lying about what he just said and the truth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, what you need to do is to like shut off your emotional response.
Yes.
And one of the first steps I teach women is to set a boundary with their ex by saying, if you start to yell at me or twist things or talk about things that are unrelated to the kids, I'm
Yes.
going to hang up.
Right.
And that off button or that phone button on your phone that says
Yeah.
end call is
Yeah.
your best friend.
Yes.
You end the call. You stop giving him that dose of he's
Yes.
getting a fix. He's getting
Yeah.
a dopamine hit from your reaction. So stop reacting.
It's so interesting because I tell people certain things like that. I'm like, you have to, I know co-parenting is different. So, but the minute they start talking about something else, you do not have to listen. You can say, okay, well, we've already discussed what we're discussing. Bye. And you hang
Yeah.
up. The
Yeah.
thing is that you have to be okay with them saying, she's so rude, she hung up on me, or whatever other story that they're telling people. It's okay though. It's okay because, like you said, they are getting a fix. They become almost like crazed from this, like getting this fix off of you that you are acting crazy. And that way they can tell people a story. And they don't like it if you don't do it. If you don't stay on the phone trying to
Right.
defend yourself, you don't have to defend yourself.
No, that's what makes them crazy is when you stop giving them that fix.
Yeah.
And the thing about them talking about you, um, you have to know that the right people that is worth you giving a hoot about
Hmm.
are going to see through him talking about you.
Yeah.
Like the right people will. Some people will have the wool pulled over their eyes and
Yes.
maybe they like him more or they're his family, whatever.
Yeah.
They don't matter. They don't
Right.
matter. The right people who matter will know what you're going through and they will see through it and they will see what the true person that he is.
Right.
And this is also a test to remove the wrong people from your life
Yeah.
and keep the right people in your life so that you can pull them closer and surround you with the love and support you truly need to get through this.
Do you guys talk about that in your groups? Because I know that that was one of the hardest lessons that I've had to learn
Yeah.
was that, and you don't have to remove people. Guess what? They leave because
Yeah.
when you are healing, there is something about your healing that doesn't sit well with other people. And the
Yes.
people, when you learn how to set boundaries, the people who are the maddest about that are the people who benefited the most from you not having any boundaries.
Yeah.
So, do you guys talk about, friends leaving your life, people not believing, things like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And here's what I like to say, as you grow and change,
Yeah.
you are reaching new levels.
Yeah.
And water seeks the same level.
Yeah.
So if you used to be in this little circle of friends who were super overly dramatic and they thrived on gossip and talking about each other,
Yeah.
you're going to rise above that and you're no longer going to be interesting to them.
Yeah.
Yay.
Right.
Because you don't need that drama in your life.
Right.
Drama is life sucking. And
Yeah.
drama is what the narcissist surrounds himself with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So stop being fuel to any drama in any circles and go find your real friends because real friends don't talk shit about you.
Right.
But they will
Exactly.
listen to you talk shit about your ex and they will give you big hugs.
That's right. And it's amazing when I started talking about it, how many of my friends came out of the woodwork to say, "Oh, I dealt with that," because we don't talk about it. And so as I started talking about it and people saying I dealt with that, they had great advice for me. But the biggest thing for me was that they said you're actually going to be okay, because I felt like I wanted to die from all the lies and betrayal and all that. And for them to say the words, I dealt with this and you're going to be okay. It was so like, it just changed my life to know those people were there rather than, well, just forgive him and move on. It's like, no, I needed someone to say, you're going to be okay. You're going to survive this because it's painful.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's very painful. And when you've been gaslit for so long,
Yeah.
you actually gaslight yourself.
Right. It's so true.
You end up gaslighting yourself because you've been so twisted and manipulated, and you need to like get clear on what is real. And a lot of times you need help with that.
Yeah.
You need somebody like Laura, or you need
Yeah.
somebody like me as a coach
Yes.
to help you separate reality
Yeah.
from the lie.
It's
Okay.
true.
And you need to rebuild what is your truth because your truth is what matters.
And I didn't know what that even was after. And but I
Yeah.
went to one of my friends who does coaching and I said, I have no idea what I need. You want to coach me? Because I want to dream about my life. And she said, sure, that's a great start. Let's do that. And she's
Yeah.
actually the one during coaching that this podcast appeared in my brain as
I
she was
love it.
helping me coach me and dream about things. She helped me dream about going to Paris and so many things because we have been so gaslit and been told that you're not worth anything. No one's going to want to listen to you. No one's going to want to do anything. No,
Your dreams aren't possible.
your
That's
dreams aren't possible.
silly.
And this is the thing is that, his excuse was always that it was about money. How are you going to make money? Whatever. But
Right.
this is what I've learned. It wasn't about money. They don't really want you to be bigger than them. They don't want you to be better than them. They don't want you to succeed in any way, shape, or form. Narcissists is who I'm really talking about. Toxic people, really, is what we're talking about. Because when people who are toxic are around you and your light and you're unintentionally, your light is shining brighter than theirs, they don't like it. It makes them uncomfortable. That's why you got to find people who are shining that same light, because they'll want to be like, yes, go do it. I found all those friends who are like, oh my gosh, go do it, go big as the sky. It's amazing.
Yeah, and such a great example of that is like watching like Simone and
Yes.
the other person on
Yes.
the
On the
podium and how
podium.
they like put her arms around the Brazil woman who won
Yes.
gold.
Yes. And then they bowed down to
Um,
her, like to
Yes,
show that she was better than they are. And they did it with a smile to honor
they
her. I was like, this
they
is
were honoring
beautiful.
her and like what an amazing feeling for her, but what an amazing example.
Yeah.
And that's what you and I are here doing. We
Right.
are showing you guys an example of what is possible because
Yes.
it is possible that you make your dreams come true.
Yeah.
It is possible for you to wish to go to France and go to France.
Right.
You know, I did several trips to Europe after I did some studies abroad there. And guess what? I didn't lose my ass. I didn't go broke. I
Right.
made it happen.
Right.
And it was fantastic. And those experiences are what is going to help you grow.
Right. And it was so many little things. My therapist actually said, just start saying yes to some good things because there's
Yeah.
always time for Netflix and wine. But what I wanted was, I felt like I wasted a lot of my life because I had so many dreams, even though I didn't know what they were anymore because they were, buried deep down. But when
Yeah.
those dreams are buried deep down, they're still going to come out. They're going to find a way to dig themselves out and start coming back to the surface. So I started saying yes to good things. And I
Mhm.
remember the first time somebody asked me to go hiking and I started crying because I didn't know if I liked it. And my therapist said, just go hiking. Go find out if you like it. I'm like, okay. That's what we have to do. After divorce, we have to figure out who we are.
And that's how you
And
do it. You get
that's
out
how
of your
you do it.
comfort zone
Yeah.
and you try everything. There's a song, I think it's like Shakira, and it's Try Everything. That was like my anthem at one
Yeah.
point for my group because it's like people are hiding and they're afraid to go out there and be social.
Yeah.
And it's like that is the juiciness and the fun of life is making new social connections,
Right.
trying new things. And guess what? You don't have to be good at it.
Right.
I learned by like I always wanted to play pickleball. Okay, finally I freaking signed us up for pickleball. Took me another 6 months before we actually did the lessons and started going to the pickleball club. And guess what? You don't have to be good at it. Nobody
Right.
expects you to be good. You can get out there and suck and still have a good time. And
Yeah.
people are going to cheer you on for hitting the ball.
That's right. It was
even if it's in the wrong, even if it's the wrong direction, right?
that's right. I remember the first time I tried pickleball because I never wanted to try racket sports because my ex had played racket sports all his life. And
Oh,
so, there's lots of stuff there. Like I
yeah,
didn't want to try. He
he's
didn't.
the good one at that.
Yeah, he's the good one at that. I'm not. So I could never try racket sports. I didn't want to. I was very much
Yeah.
told that I shouldn't. And I'm not very good at it, whatever. Guess what? The first time I did pickleball, the guy goes, "You've never played?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "You're really good." And I was like, I went to my car after my lesson and cried because I was good at something.
Because your brain
Yes.
just expanded and you
Yes.
created a new neurotransmitter that
That's
says,
right.
oh, I can do this.
I can do. And that's the thing that we have to understand is the way to grow our brain and create new neural pathways, right? Is to heal our brain because our brain has been so damaged when we have a lot, say if we're leaving abuse, our brain is damaged, but it can actually be rebuilt in so many ways. And so when you try new things and you actually fail at them, guess what? It's okay because your brain actually grows. And so that's why get out there and try pickleball and see if you're good
Yeah,
at it. And if you're not, and guess what? You never have to do anything with it. Just go try it. Go hit a ball.
it's true. It's true. Nobody started something and was good at it off the bat. Okay.
Yeah,
Everybody has to suck in the beginning, and
that's
that's
right.
okay.
It's true.
I play with people who suck at pickleball all day long, and we laugh and we have the best time. And
Yeah,
it doesn't matter who wins.
I know. I
It's
need to
just,
get back out there. It's just so hot right
I
now. I need to
know,
find an indoor court, which I'm sure there is, but I
I know.
really enjoy it. And I just wanted to get out there and move my body. And so I've been really wanting to do that. Well, we're down to the last few minutes. And so I
Okay.
wanted to ask you just maybe a little, I don't know, a piece of advice for women who are just maybe just getting a divorce and
Yeah.
something for them that to encourage them. And then at the end, we'll put everything in the show notes so people can get a hold of you if they want to work with you. But what kind of
Thank you.
advice do you have for people getting a divorce?
So, one of the things when women come to me and they are struggling with their ex being a narcissist, I always refer them to this article, and you guys can Google it. It's by
And we'll put it in the show notes as well. We'll find it.
Okay. It's about the gray rock method. It was initially described in
Yes.
2012 by a life coach named Skylar, and that's all the information I have on her. But you can just
Okay.
Google the gray rock method by Skylar. And it is a technique
Yes.
that if you practice it, you will learn to stop being the what do you call it? Like the source
Yes.
of your narcissistic um abusers.
Yeah.
I don't know, what do you call it? The source of his
It's true. And
entertainment.
this works for all
Yeah,
toxic people. You can
exactly.
use this for all toxic relationships anywhere in your
Yes.
workplace, in your family. This works great. So yes, explain it to us
Yeah,
because
and
it works
basically
great.
it's stop being the emotional response that gives them that dopamine hit.
Yes.
You need to become as interesting as a gray rock, which basically is the most boring thing on the planet. Okay. It doesn't even breathe. It just sits there and it's like the most boring color on the planet. You could walk by a million of them a day and you never notice it.
Right.
That is what you need to become to the narcissist for him to say, huh, this isn't fun for me. I'm going to stop picking on her because I don't get any kind of response out of it.
Right.
It's no fun anymore. So avoid emotional responses.
Yeah.
Keep all of your responses short and to the point and with no emotion, and really minimize your contact with this person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Stop
It's true.
answering the phone
Yeah.
immediately because you're afraid he's going to respond badly if you don't answer.
Or leave
Don't
you a
answer the
terrible
phone.
message or something. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. You
Yeah.
know, I don't have to co-parent with my ex, and so if you don't have to co-parent with your ex, you are actually allowed to block them
Yes.
and everything. I have full, they are complete, him and his new wife are completely blocked on everything. I don't ever have to see
Mhm.
them. I don't have
Yeah.
to talk to them. And people tell me, well, you have kids with him. I say, I have grown kids with him. I never have to see him ever again if I don't want to.
Yeah.
And if I ever have to, I
Mhm.
will gray rock him. He won't even, he does not exist anymore to me
Yeah.
because of what he did. And I'm not talking about, oh, we just had a falling out. No, I
Yeah.
uncovered years of lies and betrayal, and I'm
Yeah.
good. And I do not ever have to acknowledge him because I've done too much work. I'm worth more
Yeah.
than that. And so I will gray rock my life away.
Absolutely. And not only that, not only is it the best thing for you,
Yeah.
but it's also secretly annoying to him.
Yes, exactly.
Okay?
Because you
You
have
have
no response.
if you can properly gray rock your ex, you
Yeah.
will have turned the tables.
Well, over a year ago, I had to meet with him about something, and we went somewhere public because he would never speak to me poorly in public. Well,
Yeah.
well, guess what? I was in full gray rock mode, and I was just answering questions, yes, no, whatever, and he actually started raising his voice at me in public, which he's never done because they have a facade that they want
Yeah.
everyone to know that,
Yeah.
and so it was making him so mad. And so anyway, at the end he said, "Are we done?" And I was like, "Yes."
Yep.
That was the end of my question. I just said, "Yes." And he left, and I just was like, this man thinks he still owns me. And so it made him mad. So it really is true. They can't stand it that they don't
Yeah.
affect you anymore. So it's a great
Yeah.
way to do it. When we've been taught wrong, that we've been taught to be the good girl, you always have to be polite,
And people
even if
please.
people are being rude to you.
Yes.
You have to do that. You don't.
You
Being
don't.
being a gray rock and saying yes, no, okay, that's not rude. That's just not
That's
what
not
they
rude.
want. It's just not
It-
what they want. It's not
Exactly.
rude.
It's just the facts.
It's just the facts. That's it. You don't have to.
Facts.
And when they start saying, "Oh, you probably want," I've heard this on somebody's site on Instagram. If I find it, I'll have
Mhm.
to put it in the show notes. And he talks about that his co-parent, his ex spouse, will say, "Oh, you probably want me to take the child for the weekend so you can go and whore off, with somebody." And it's not on topic anymore. So he says, "Okay, thank you. I will see you on Sunday when you pick up the child or whatever it is, right? It's just go back to the facts. They're
Yeah.
trying to poke the bear somehow by saying, you want me to take the child so you can go be a whore. This has nothing to do with anything. They're just trying to be mean to you
They're
to make
trying
you
to trigger you so that you freak out and say, I'd never do that, blah, blah, blah.
yes, and you
And
don't
give
have to explain it. You don't. You don't have to say
exactly.
one thing. You
You
don't have
don't.
to say I'm going to a church retreat. You don't have to say
No.
anything. It's none of their
Don't
business. You just
don't justify it.
don't justify it.
Yeah.
You
The
doesn't
less
matter.
less details about your life, the better.
Oh
Allow him,
God, yes.
you can just like sit there and smile and let him think you really are going to go around and pour
Yeah.
about.
That's right. Let him think what he wants.
Right?
Well, Julie, thank you so much for being here. Give
Thank
us
you.
where everyone can reach you, and then we're going to put all of that in the show notes in case anybody wants to work with you.
Awesome. I will give you all my links. And you can find me on Facebook. You can get into my free community called Thriving Community Women Supporting Women Through Divorce.
Awesome.
You got to put all that in the search bar under
Yep.
groups, and you can join me there. Also, check out my Get Over Divorce podcast. As
Okay.
a matter of fact, Laura was on my podcast,
Yeah.
episode number
Yes,
144,
I was.
and it was titled Husbands Behind the Mask.
I'll put that in. I'll put that in the link as in the show notes as well, so we can link each other. Thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You're so helpful talking about all this stuff, and we could have talked about so much more,
So
and
much more.
so much more. We barely touched on anything because
Oh, I
divorce
know.
is
I threw my notes
so
aside.
it's divorce is so complicated and all this stuff. But thank you for what you're doing. I really appreciate it. So,
Yeah.
and guys, if anything resonated with you today, will you please leave a review on Apple and Spotify and let Podcast Land know you love us. And of course, find Julie. I'll have all her information in the show notes. And of course, go to
Perfect.
social media because I'm going to have social media posts that you guys can comment on, all those things. I have lots of stuff out there for you guys. Julie, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Laura.
All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.